Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases. Today we're doing another deep dive, and this one's actually inspired by a really great SpeakDuo lesson. We're not just adding words today, we're aiming for those real aha moments, the kind that really push your English speaking forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the heart of SpeakDuo. It's such a fantastic platform. You get to meet people from, all over the world, practice English on video calls, and really genuinely build that confidence. So if you're looking for that kind of practical application, definitely worth checking out. It's speakduo.com.
Definitely. Okay, so let's dive straight in then. No long intros about why idioms are important. We know they are for advanced communication. We're looking at some powerful, really nuanced phrases today. Essential stuff if you want your English to sound, more natural, more authentic. Our first one today is something I think many of us feel when we see someone just brilliant at something. It's got me beat.
Oh.
So the source material defines this pretty clearly. Got me beat means someone who's done something better than you or is more skilled. And the example they give is, I thought I could cook, but my sister's got me beat. Simple item. Pizza picture.
It does. But what's really fascinating about got me beat is it's not just saying they're better. You could say, oh, they're more skilled, or they outdid me. Fine. But got me beat. It's got this idiomatic feel. It's like a conversational concession. You're admitting defeat, but often with a bit of admiration, maybe even playfully.
Ah, okay. So it's not better.
Not usually, no. It implies you're kind of stumped. They've completely surpassed you. Shows a certain humility, actually. You're acknowledging their mastery, which paradoxically can make you seem more confident. You're comfortable admitting someone else is great.
That's a fantastic point. It's like being secure enough to praise someone else's skill.
Yeah.
So, okay, how does this play out day to day, like at work?
Right. Imagine you're in, say, a tech team. You've been wrestling with some code for hours trying to optimize it.
Been there.
Yeah. And then Sarah, your colleague, she shows her version. And it's just way better.
Okay.
You might say, wow, I spent all afternoon on the script, thought I was getting somewhere, but Sarah's update, it's incredibly fast. Seriously elegant code. She's really got me beat when it comes to efficiency.
That sounds really natural. It's respectful, too.
Exactly. You're acknowledging her talent, even while admitting your own struggle with that specific thing.
Okay. Or how about, for an IELTS speaking part 2, if they ask you to describe a skill you wish you had? You could say something like, I've always admired people who are truly fluent in multiple languages. I mean, I've tried, learned a few phrases, but my friend Elena, she just switches between 4 languages like it's nothing. She truly has me beat. Her ability to just connect with anyone from any culture, it's just incredible. I can only dream of that kind of fluency. See?
Yeah, that works perfectly. Has me beat there really conveys that deep admiration, that sense of, wow, they are on another level, much more than just saying she speaks more languages than me.
Right. It adds that authentic, almost emotional layer.
It absolutely does. And using phrases like this, it signals a higher command of English, doesn't it? You're moving beyond just facts into expressing real feelings, understanding those conversational nuances. It makes your English feel alive, human.
That makes total sense. Okay, so from conceding defeat gracefully, let's flip it. Let's talk about celebrating success together. Our next phrase is one we definitely like to hear or give. Round of applause. So the source defines round of applause as a period of clapping by an audience to show appreciation, praise, or approval. And the example is classic. Let's give her a round of applause for organizing the event. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Universal sign of good job.
It is straightforward, but let's unpack it a bit. If we connect it to the bigger picture, a round of applause isn't just random clapping. It signifies a group thing, a collective agreement, a public nod that says, we approve.
Ah, okay. So it's different from just clapping.
Yeah. Clapping is just the action. Could be polite, could be half-hearted, could even be sarcastic sometimes. And then you've got an ovation, which is like the big one. Standing up, lots of noise, for something really exceptional.
Right, like at the end of a stunning concert.
Exactly. But a round of applause, that's the common, expected, polite way a group shows collective appreciation. It's structured, it's a moment. It has this sort of formal-ish communal feel that just clapping doesn't quite capture.
That's a really useful distinction. It's about that public recognition boosting morale. So let's take a work scenario again.
Yeah.
Team meeting. You've just launched a really tough project against all odds.
Okay, big success.
Yeah. and you're the team lead. You might say, okay, everyone, before we wrap up, I really want to propose we give the entire development team a huge round of applause.
Honestly, their dedication over the last few weeks was incredible. Getting this product ready on schedule, tireless effort. Let's hear it for them.
Nice. Yeah, it feels more significant than just saying, good job, team. It mobilizes everyone to show appreciation together.
Makes people feel seen, valued. Okay, now for that IELTS Part 2 style example. Question. Describe a time you saw a memorable performance.
You could say, I went to this charity concert recently, and wow, the lead singer. Her voice was just breathtaking, especially her last song. It was so powerful. The whole place was just silent, captivated. And then, at the end, the entire audience just jumped to their feet and gave her this massive, prolonged round of applause. It felt electric, truly well-deserved. You could just feel the appreciation in the air. Using prolonged round of applause really paints that picture, doesn't it?
It really does. It emphasizes the duration, the intensity of the appreciation. And, this makes me think, different cultures obviously express appreciation in different ways, right?
True.
But why is round of applause so widely understood in English-speaking places? It's like this shared social ritual baked into the language around performance or achievement.
That's interesting. It's like a cultural shorthand.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where a round of applause felt kind of awkward?
Oh, definitely. Like maybe for something that wasn't actually that great.
Exactly. Like a meeting where things didn't go well, but someone tries to force it.
Yeah, like let's give ourselves a round of applause for finishing. It feels hollow then.
Totally. It really shows. It usually implies genuine appreciation. Okay, moving on. Let's shift focus from recognition to grabbing the spotlight. The phrase is take center stage. So the source definition is become the main focus of attention. Simple enough. And the example. Her performance really took center stage at the meeting. Very visual, isn't it? Like a spotlight swinging over.
It really is. And that theatrical imagery is key, I think. It's more than just being noticed. Something can be the focus is passively, or something can stand out just by being different. But taking center stage, that feels active.
Active. How so?
It implies a shift, often a dramatic one, where one thing suddenly dominates everything else. It commands attention. It suggests there's something compelling about it, something that draws all eyes and makes it the defining element of the situation. It overrides other things.
Ah, I see. So it's not just being noticed, it's demanding notice because it's suddenly the most important thing.
Exactly. It's about prominence, impact.
Okay, let's think about work again. Maybe a project update meeting. Everything's focused on budget and deadlines.
It's standard stuff.
Right. But then, bam. News of a major new regulation drops.
Okay. Game changer.
Exactly. You could say, well, initially we were all focused on the budget constraints, trimming costs. But then the announcement about the new compliance regulations just suddenly took center stage.
Yeah.
It completely derailed the budget discussion and forced us to rethink our entire timeline, our whole strategy, actually.
Perfect. It shows how that one thing just overshadowed everything else, becoming the unavoidable priority.
Right. Okay, IELTS Part 2 style. Question. Describe a significant news event you remember.
Okay.
You might say, oh, I vividly remember when the global economic crisis started becoming big news. At first, it was, just another headline among many. But really quickly, all those dire predictions, job losses, markets crashing, they just took center stage. Every news channel, every conversation, it felt like. It dominated everything. You couldn't escape it. It became the single most important, all-consuming topic for months.
Yeah, it took center stage, captures that escalation perfectly, from background noise to the main event. And, this raises a really practical question for anyone trying to communicate effectively.
What's that?
How do you make your key message take center stage, whether it's in a presentation or just a conversation?
Good point. It's not just about being loud.
Right. It's about making it relevant, clear, impactful, making it resonate so much that it naturally commands focus. It's about crafting that impact.
Crafting impact. I like that. Okay, now let's pivot to something less positive. A phrase for when things go spectacularly wrong. Tank it. So our source defines tank it as fail badly or ruin something. Pretty blunt in the example. He really tanked the presentation by forgetting his lines. Ouch. You can almost feel the awkwardness. It sounds quite dramatic, doesn't it?
It really does. And connecting this to the bigger picture, tank it, implies a much more severe outcome than just failing.
How so? More severe than fail.
Well, you can fail partially, right? Or just not quite hit the mark and mess up. That often suggests a smaller error, maybe fixable.
Okay.
But tank it, that suggests a complete undeniable, often spectacular failure, like a crash and burn, especially for something where you were expected to succeed or the stakes were high.
So it's like total disaster level.
Pretty much. It conveys a really high degree of negative impact. Not just bad, but devastatingly bad for that specific goal.
Wow. Paints a vivid picture. Definitely not one you want to be in. Okay, work context. Let's imagine a new salesperson. First, big client pitch. High hopes.
A lot of pressure.
Right. But it goes terribly wrong. You might hear someone say later, oh man, the new rep completely tanked his first client pitch. He got the prices wrong, didn't know the product features, even mixed up the client's name. We might actually lose the account over this.
Oof. Yeah, tanked fits perfectly there. It's not a minor stumble. It's a full-blown catastrophe with real consequences.
Right. Okay, IELTS Part 2. Question. Describe a time you learned from a mistake.
Ah, the learning from failure question.
Exactly. You could say, well, back in university, I made the classic mistake of deciding to cram all night for a big history exam. No sleep, just coffee and panic.
Familiar story.
Unsurprisingly, I completely tanked the exam. My mind was just blank. Couldn't remember dates, names, nothing. It was awful.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a harsh lesson. It really taught me the importance of proper preparation and definitely about getting enough sleep. Here, tank the exam shows it wasn't just a bad grade, it was a complete meltdown.
Absolutely. It captures that sense of utter failure in the moment. And this brings up, an important follow-up thought. Okay, so you tank something. What then? How do you recover?
Right, the resilience part.
Exactly. What does that recovery process tell us? Because the failure itself is vivid, but how you bounce back, or if you bounce back, that's often the more telling part of the story. Turning that tanking moment into growth.
Very true. It's all about the comeback. Okay, next up, we're shifting gears to a specific, often very frustrating way people communicate. Passive-aggressive. Our source defines this as indirectly expressing negative feelings instead of openly addressing them. And the example is just chef's kiss perfect. She gave me a passive-aggressive smile and said, nice of you to finally show up. That smile says it all, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's fascinating is that passive-aggressive isn't just being generally indirect. It's a specific pattern, right? There's a deliberate mismatch between the surface behavior, the smile, the seemingly polite words, and the actual negative feeling underneath, like anger or resentment.
So it's more than just being subtly annoyed.
Oh, definitely. It often comes out through things like procrastination, stubbornness, maybe being intentionally inefficient, giving backhanded compliments.
Or those innocent mistakes that always seem to inconvenience someone else.
Exactly. Or veiled insults disguised as jokes. People might do it because they fear direct conflict, or maybe there's a power imbalance.
Right. Makes sense.
And it's so hard to deal with because the person can always deny the hidden meaning. What? I was just being nice. It avoids taking responsibility.
Ugh, yeah. The plausible deniability. It's like trying to nail jelly to a wall sometimes. So let's think about work dynamics.
Okay.
Say you had a small disagreement with a colleague. You thought you cleared the air, but then things get weird. You might say, I tried talking to my colleague after that little misunderstanding, and she insisted everything was fine. But then she started sending these, really passive-aggressive emails.
So.
Like subtly blaming me for delays that weren't my fault or forgetting to CC me on important updates for our joint project. It just creates this awful tension.
Yeah, that's classic. The negativity is there, but it's indirect, making it hard to call out without sounding paranoid.
Exactly. Okay, IELTS Part 2. Question. Describe a challenging situation you handled. Maybe a difficult housemate situation.
Ah, yes. Fertile ground.
I once had this housemate who, instead of talking about cleaning issues, would just leave these passive-aggressive notes everywhere.
Oh, the notes.
Right. Like instead of saying, hey, can you clean your dishes, she'd leave a note by the sink saying, it seems some people treat this kitchen like their personal dumping ground. Always aimed, but never direct. This was really challenging because you couldn't have a real conversation about it. It just created this constant low-level resentment in the house. That indirect accusation is key.
Absolutely. It perfectly illustrates the behavior. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? Why do people fall back on this? And what are better ways to handle conflict?
Directness, usually, even if it's uncomfortable.
Almost always. In the long run, direct, honest communication, even the difficult kind, tends to be way more productive and healthier for any relationship.
Good life lesson there. Okay, from the subtle digs of passive aggression, let's jump to the other extreme. Outright verbal assault with rip someone a new one. So the source says rip someone a new one means to harshly criticize or scold someone. And the example, the manager ripped him a new one for missing the deadline. Sounds intense. Like really intense, something you definitely want to avoid.
Oh, absolutely intense. Connecting this to the bigger picture, this phrase goes way beyond just criticizing or scolding.
How much further?
Well, scolding, or telling someone off, is a stern correction. Berating is stronger, maybe a long, angry lecture. But rips someone a new one. That's highly informal. It can even be considered vulgar. It implies an extremely severe, angry, and thorough verbal attack.
Like a total demolition.
Exactly. It suggests the person on the receiving end feels utterly crushed, maybe humiliated. It's a very visceral idiom for a really furious dressing down. The speaker's anger is unmistakable and overwhelming.
Okay, definitely paints a picture of a situation to steer clear of. Work context again. Let's say there's been a massive, costly mistake on a project.
High-stakes error.
Yeah. And the usually calm project manager finally snaps at the person responsible.
Okay.
You might hear someone else describe it later. Man, when the client found out about that error, the PM called John into his office and just ripped him a new one. You could practically hear the shouting down the hall. Total meltdown.
Yikes. Yeah, that captures the severity, the public or semi-public nature of the anger, and just how uncomfortable it was.
Right. Okay, IELTS Part 2. Question. Describe a time you received strong feedback.
Strong feedback is putting it mildly with this phrase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, during my very first internship, I was handling some data entry, and I accidentally deleted a really crucial client file.
Oh, no.
My supervisor, who was normally super calm and supportive, he absolutely ripped me a new one. It was honestly terrifying at the time.
I bet.
But, looking back, it certainly taught me very forcefully about attention to detail and the absolute necessity of backing up everything. The phrase conveys the shock and intensity, right?
Definitely. It highlights how memorable and impactful that negative experience was, even if it was awful in the moment. But it does raise a question, doesn't it? While maybe, in some extreme cases, a harsh rebuke feels warranted.
Yeah.
What are the long-term consequences of actually ripping someone a new one, especially at work?
Team morale, trust.
Exactly. It can destroy trust, create fear, breed resentment. It might get attention immediately, but the collateral damage to relationships and future collaboration can be huge. It's a very costly communication tool.
Absolutely. A real double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Okay, now for something a bit more intuitive. A feeling in your gut. Our next phrase is, Spidey senses are jumping.
Yeah.
Our source says, Spidey senses are jumping means intuition or gut feeling something is wrong. Horse. And the example, my Spidey senses were jumping when I saw the manager's expression. This one feels really vivid and modern thanks to the pop culture link, right?
It's brilliant, isn't it? How pop culture just weaves itself into our language. Spidey senses, everyone gets the reference, right? From Spider-Man. And it instantly signals a very specific kind of intuition. Not just any hunch, but one that specifically flags danger, a problem, something wrong, like a personal alarm bell.
So it's stronger than just a gut feeling.
I think so, yeah. Gut feeling or something feels off can be quite general. But Spidey senses are jumping. That implies a heightened awareness, a more urgent, almost physical sense of warning. It's playful, but it signals, pay attention, something's not right here.
Yeah, that internal alarm bell feeling. Super relatable. Okay, work scenario. You walk into a team meeting. Usually there's some noise, people chatting.
The usual pre-meeting buzz.
Right. But today, dead silent. Everyone's staring at the table looking grim.
Uh-oh.
You could say, as soon as I walked into the meeting room and saw everyone's serious faces, totally silent, my Spidey senses were immediately jumping. I just knew instantly that something bad had happened with the project.
Perfect. It captures that immediate intuitive red flag before you even know the facts, that sense of foreboding.
Exactly. Okay, IELTS Part 2. Question. Describe a time your intuition helped you.
Okay, relying on the gut.
Well, I was about to sign a lease on a new apartment. Everything looked great on paper, good price, good location.
Sounds perfect.
But just, I don't know why, my Spidey senses were jumping. I had this nagging, uneasy feeling. Something felt off. So instead of just signing, I decided to dig a little deeper, do some more research online. And guess what? I found a whole bunch of hidden fees and really unfavorable clauses in the fine print.
Wow. Good thing you listened.
Totally. That gut feeling, those jumping Spidey senses, saved me from a really bad deal. It clearly shows intuition leading to action that avoided a problem.
Definitely. It highlights the value of that warning signal. But it also brings up that tricky question again, doesn't it? How much should we really rely on these Spidey senses?
The intuition versus logic debate.
Right. What's at the right balance? Intuition can be a powerful first alert, but it's often best when it prompts us to investigate further, you know? Gather the facts, do the analysis, pair the gut check with a head check.
Trust, but verify with your own senses. Good advice. Okay, our second to last phrase is super contemporary, very informal. You hear it a lot these days. It's not giving something. So the source defines this as a slang phrase used to express that something is lacking. And the example is spot on for how it's used. This outfit is not giving birthday queen. It immediately tells you something's missing, right? Doesn't meet the expected vibe.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is just how fast language evolves, especially in formal slang. This phrase has really taken off. It captures a very specific type of judgment, usually about aesthetics or vibe or overall impression, that older phrases like "it's lacking" don't quite get.
How is it different from just lacking?
It's not giving something implies a failure to project or embody a desired quality or energy. It's not just a missing piece. It's failing to evoke a certain feeling or image.
Ah, okay. The vibe isn't right.
Precisely. So, not giving birthday queen means the outfit doesn't convey that special, celebratory, maybe even a bit extra feeling you'd expect for someone celebrating their birthday in style. It's about the overall essence it projects, or fails to project.
Gotcha. It's about unmet expectations for the overall feeling. Okay, work context, maybe in a creative field, marketing, design.
Yeah, perfect context.
You're reviewing new branding concepts. You see a logo proposal. You might say, I mean, the colors are nice, it's clean, but the overall design, it's just not giving innovative tech startup. It feels a bit safe, a bit generic for what we're trying to achieve.
Right. It expresses that subjective feeling that the design, while maybe okay technically, fundamentally fails to communicate the intended brand identity or energy. It lacks that specific punch.
Okay. IELTS Part 2. Question. Describe a new product you recently saw. Yeah, I saw ads for this new streaming service. They promised tons of exclusive shows, really helped it up.
Okay, sounds good so far.
But then I checked it out, did the free trial, and honestly, it wasn't really giving value for money. The library was way smaller than they implied, and the app was kind of clunky compared to the big players.
So it failed to deliver on the promised feeling of good value.
Exactly. Not giving value for money sums up that feeling of disappointment, that it didn't live up to the hype or the price point. It's informal, but clear.
It definitely is. And it raises that question for learners. How important is it to keep up with slang like this?
Tricky one.
Well, you probably wouldn't use "it's not giving" in a formal essay, obviously, but understanding it, using it in the right casual context, that shows a real fluency with current everyday English. It shows you're tuned in to how the language is actually being used right now.
Yeah, keeps you sounding current. Okay, last phrase. And this one, based on our source, has a really specific, kind of humorous twist. Too much time on someone's hands. Now, our source gives a definition that really made me pause. To enjoy or willingly endure discomfort or pain, often used humorously to describe someone who likes challenging experiences.
Right. It's not the standard boredom definition.
Exactly. Usually I think of it as someone being bored, maybe meddling because they've got nothing better to do. But the example here is he's always starting drama. He's got too much time on his hands. So expert, help me connect starting drama with enjoying discomfort or challenging experiences. That feels like a stretch from just boredom.
It does seem like a stretch at first glance, but let's lean into this specific definition from our source. What's fascinating is how it frames the phrase humorously. It suggests the person isn't just idle, but they actively seek out or maybe even get a kick out of difficult, uncomfortable situations. They find challenge stimulating, maybe?
Okay, so drama is a challenging experience.
From the specific humorous perspective, yeah. Think about it. Navigating complex social dynamics, dealing with confrontation, managing emotional fallout that is challenging and uncomfortable for most people. So saying someone who starts drama has too much time on their hands, according to this definition, is a funny, slightly exasperated way of saying they seem to invest their surplus time and energy into creating or engaging with these difficult situations, almost as if they enjoy the complexity or the discomfort it brings.
I think I get it now. Like a playful accusation. You must actually like this difficult stuff if you're spending your free time on it.
Exactly. It's a humorous jab at someone who seems drawn to things others would actively avoid.
Okay, sticking strictly to that unique definition then. Work context. Let's think about Mark, the guy who always volunteers for the nightmare projects.
The ones everyone else runs away from.
Precisely. Like the super complex, politically charged merger integration project that failed spectacularly last time.
Okay. And Mark raises his hand.
Right. You might say, Can you believe Mark just volunteered to lead the integration project? After what happened last time, he must have way too much time on his hands, honestly. Always tackling the most challenging, painful tasks like he enjoys the suffering.
Okay, yeah. Using the phrase that way implies he has this peculiar enjoyment of extreme challenge or discomfort, fitting that specific definition.
Right. Okay, IELTS Part 2. Question. Describe an unusual hobby someone you know has.
Unusual hobbies.
Okay. My cousin has recently gotten into extreme endurance racing, like ultra marathons across deserts, multi-day races in the Arctic, stuff like that.
Wow. Definitely challenging.
Seriously. She talks
Yeah.
about the blisters, the exhaustion, the mental battles. She genuinely seems to, well, enjoy pushing herself through that intense discomfort and pain.
Uh-huh.
So, based on that specific definition we talked about, I often joke that she must have way too much time on her hands, willingly signing up for that level of suffering. It's impressive, but definitely a challenging experience.
Perfect. That aligns exactly with the source's unique take, humorously describing someone who willingly endures discomfort because they have the time and inclination for such extreme challenges. And it really highlights, doesn't it, how humor works in language. How we use phrases like this, sometimes playfully, to comment on behaviors that seem unusual or defy easy explanation, especially when they involve embracing difficulty. It adds personality, a bit of wit to how we describe people.
Definitely adds character.
Uh,
Okay, that brings us to the end of our phrase deep dive. Now let's see how well you've absorbed all this. Time for a quick quiz. I'll read the question and the options A, B, or C. Give you a few seconds. And remember, feel free to pause this deep dive if you need a bit longer to think. Ready? Question 1. What does the phrase "got me beat" imply? Option A. Someone copied your idea or outperformed you unfairly. Option B. Someone disagrees with your choices consistently. Option C. Someone has done something better or is more skilled. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. Okay, the correct answer is option C. Someone has done something better or is more skilled. Remember, it's usually about acknowledging superior skill, often with admiration, not necessarily unfairness, A, or disagreement, B. Like our cooking example. My sister has got me beat. Question 2. What is a round of applause used to express? Option A. A period of clapping to show appreciation or praise. Option B. A speech to honor someone's effort or action. Option C. A standing ovation for something remarkable. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. And the answer is option A period of clapping to show appreciation or praise. It's the general, collective act of clapping approval. B is a speech, and C is a specific, more intense type of applause, ovation. Remember, let's give her a round of applause. Question 3. What does it mean to take center stage? Option A. Join in as one of several speakers or performers. Option B. Become the main focus of attention. Option C. Lead a discussion or interrupt a major event. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. The correct answer here is option B, become the main focus of attention. It's about dominating the focus, not just participating A or leading, interrupting C. Like, her performance really took center stage. Question 4. What does it mean to tank it? Option A, miss an opportunity unintentionally. Option B, fail badly or ruin something. Option C, react negatively to pressure or conflict. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. Right, this one means option B, fail badly or ruin something. It implies a significant, often catastrophic failure, not just missing a chance or reacting badly. See, remember the presentation example? He really tanked it by forgetting his lines. Question 5. What does passive-aggressive behavior involve? Option A. Indirectly express negative feelings. Option B. Avoid addressing issues to keep the peace. Option C. Speak calmly while hiding frustration. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. Okay, the core definition is option A. Indirectly express negative feelings. While avoiding issues, B, or speaking calmly, C, might be part of it sometimes, the key is that underlying negativity being expressed in a masked way. Think of that smile, passive-aggressive smile. Question 6. What does it mean to rip someone a new one? Option A. Critique someone with exaggerated praise. Option B. Tell someone off with sarcasm. Option C. Harshly criticize or scold someone. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. This intense phrase means option C. Harshly criticize or scold someone. It's about extreme anger and reprimand, not praise, A, or just sarcasm. B, like the manager who ripped him a new one. Question 7. What does spidey senses or jumping refer to? Option A, physical reaction to awkward or tense moments. Option B, intuition or gut feeling that something is wrong. Option C, the urge to leave a situation quickly. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. And the answer is option B. Intuition or gut feeling that something is wrong. It's specifically that internal alarm bell signaling a problem, not just any physical reaction, or an urge to flee. See, remember, my Spidey senses were jumping. Last question, number 8. What does "it's not giving something" mean? Option A, something is misused or taken out of context. Option B, something is lacking or not living up to expectations. Option C, something is overdone and trying too hard. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer. Pause for 3 seconds. Okay, this modern slang phrase means option B, something is lacking or not living up to expectations, specifically in terms of the vibe or impression it creates. It's not about misuse, A, or necessarily trying too hard, C. Remember, this outfit is not giving birthday queen.
So if we tie all this together, mastering these kinds of phrases, it's really about adding layers to your communication, isn't it? It moves you beyond just conveying information to expressing nuance, emotion, attitude, all the subtle stuff that makes conversation rich and, well, human. It lets you navigate social situations with more precision and authenticity.
Absolutely. So what does this really mean for you listening right now? Well, the challenge is to start noticing these phrases out in the wild. And then try using them. Think about situations where one might fit perfectly. How would using "got me beat" instead of "is better" change the feel? Or using "tanked it" instead of "failed"? That's where the real learning, the deep dive, happens, when you start actively playing with the language. And hey, if you wanted a great place to practice using these very phrases in real conversations, don't forget SpeakDuo.com. Meet people, chat, build confidence, keep listening, keep practicing, and keep aiming for those aha moments.